What's up everybody, it's Roman Gaming here. So a couple of weeks ago you may recall that I made a video to talk about a certain patent that had been discovered. It was filed by Sony and it spoke about some form of backwards compatibility that would likely be available on the PlayStation 5. I think it was called remastering by emulation, you may recall that. Watch that video of course if you want to hear me talk about that. This time around, yesterday, a different patent has once again been discovered, and it talks about a touchscreen that will apparently be available on some Sony controller, likely the DualShock 5 on the PlayStation 5, of course. And this has many people talking about it right now, is that a possibility? Kind of seems like a natural evolution to go from a touchpad to a touchscreen, right? Now, I will say, and it's very important you understand this for those who don't, take all these rumors with a grain of salt. Patents get filed all the time by companies. The idea behind it is that if they come up with some cool concept for, certain device or feature or whatever they want to have, they file a patent for it just so some other company can take over the idea, run away with it. It gives them a much stronger case to, sue them if stuff like that happens, right? So there's plenty of patents out there that Sony has filed in the last 10 years that haven't been used for anything whatsoever. I think they also have, they tend to have several variations for one device, that are all slightly different from each other, and then there's one of them that they'll go through it. So, again, it doesn't have to mean anything. I do think it's interesting to talk about because it certainly gives you a good idea of what they are right now, thinking about doing with their next PlayStation, for example, right? So, do I think that a touchscreen on the DualShock 5 is possible, that it's likely to happen? No. I would say chances of that happening are very slim. There's a couple reasons why. First of all, it would increase the battery life, or decrease the battery life even more. Right now, everybody already complains that the DualShock 4 lasts about 6 to 7 hours or something. At first, a lot of people thought that this was because of the LED light that's available on it, right? That's why Sony patched it then afterwards to make sure you could dim it and stuff like that. But it actually turns out, no, that wasn't the cause for it at all. In fact, LED lights tend to be very energy sufficient, I heard. So, it really shouldn't have any impact. But what did cause it was the touchpad, funnily enough. And that's especially frustrating to me, right? Because I like the touchpad quite a lot as an idea. It's just a waste of a feature on the DualShock 4 right now because no developer uses it, right? I think about the PS4 launch games like Killzone Shadowfall. They actually made use of the touchpad the way it was supposed to be used, is that you could swipe in all kinds of directions. Because of that, you had several new features available that otherwise would have taken multiple kind of button presses to activate, for example, via a certain weapon wheel or whatever, right? That's what Killzone Shadowfall did very well. It actually used the DualShock 4 in the way that I wanted all developers to use the DualShock 4. Now, though, that's not the case whatsoever. I think about Red Dead Redemption 2 that everybody is playing right now. It almost just seems ridiculous that you have this massive touchpad on the controller and all they do is use it as a button to go into first person mode. In the meantime, if you want to just open your journal or save the game, go to the map, you have to do several button presses to get there, when that could have very easily been fixed by simply making you swipe. I know what you're thinking, maybe it's a bit stupid to complain about stuff like this because we're talking about the difference between a couple of button presses and simply one little input action on your touchpad, but it all adds up, right? And it's just that was the whole point of the touchpad being available on the DualShock 4. It's just not being used whatsoever, and that sucks to me because I would like to see it being used. I think there's some really creative ways it could be used. Now, so we've talked about battery life. It's safe to assume if it's a touch screen, it's gonna drain even more battery life. You'd have to have a juggernaut of battery in there for people not to complain about it. So that's one of the big reasons. The second one, however, is also the production costs. It's going to cost even more to make a controller like this. And what does that mean for you? You're going to have to spend even more money on a controller. People already tend to complain, and me myself included, about the cost of a controller. It's like $60, which honestly is very much on the pricey side. It's just as expensive as an actual game. I think about the Nintendo Switch, little Joy-Cons or whatever, they really seem worthless and they're like $80, I think. It's absolutely crazy, but controllers cost a lot. If you're gonna include a touchscreen on it, yeah, you can definitely count on the fact that it's going to be even more pricey, and that's not something people want. So all in all, adding a touchscreen just has two major disadvantages that will come along with it. And that's why I don't think it will be, something that will be on the DualShock 5. That being said, you may recall that I made a video, I think, very early on in the year to talk about everything as far as the PlayStation 5 goes, what I expect from it. And I talked about backwards compatibility there too, and I do think that's something that will be available on it. You're going to be able to play all your PS4 games on the PS5. At the same time, I said they're going to get rid of the touchpad because, again, it drains the battery and it's a useless feature, at least in the way it's being used right now. Developers just don't do it. It's pointless to have it, on a next PlayStation controller. What some people in the comments pointed out, and it really did get me thinking, it's a very logical argument to make, is that, well, if you're going to want to carry over all these PS4 games to the PS5, they're going to be unplayable for those that do use the touchpad, like Killzone Shadowfall. You're not going to be able to use those features. Either Sony would have to literally force every single developer out there to patch all the games available on the PS4, which the likelihood of that happening is pretty much zero. Unless that would be the case, and you're not going to be able to play all those games. So something they're pretty much forced to keep carrying forward this touchpad in the next iterations of that controller if these old games, if they want them to still be playable. So I guess to some extent, yeah, a touchpad or a touchscreen will have to be available on it. Of course, if you use the touchscreen, what's interesting about that is that you could have even more features. They could split up the touchscreen into several buttons that you could use for different features. That's cool. You could swipe once again. You could maybe use it for drawing or writing, anything like that. The possibilities are limitless. Just think about what your smartphone can do. Anything like that you would be able to do with the controller too. So a touchscreen would definitely bring also some benefits, and hopefully could mean that developers would actually use it more than they use the touchpad right now. But then again, you have these other disadvantages, and it's it really has me thinking. It's a lot of food for thought. Let me know how you feel about this. I would love to hear your input. But for now, I think it's definitely interesting to to think about. So with that being said, I'm still working on the Red Dead Redemption 2 video as we speak. I just finished the script. So all that's left right now is to record the commentary and make the video, which funnily enough is actually the least amount of work compared to the preparation you do by writing the script and recording all the gameplay. So that's going to come up in the next couple of days. The script is up on Patreon right now if you want to check it out and read it already in advance. Just join at the $1 tier, support me with everything I do on YouTube, and you get a bunch of really cool rewards like that. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, those are basically my thoughts for now on the on this story of whether the DualShock 5 is going to have a touchpad or not. I think chances are very slim, but who knows? They're going to have to come up with something to accommodate for backwards compatibility if they're going to have it. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and then for now, I'd like to thank you a lot for watching. I hope to see you again next time.